Darth Hideous. We sent troops to Ralph the Jedi's last known location, and he killed all of our men.
Perhaps we've gone too easy on him.
Is your name really Darth Hideous? Why do they call you that?
Yes, I was given the name Darth Hideous by the Emperor himself, because I have a repulsively ugly face.
Have you ever looked in a mirror?
No, Sith are above looking at trivial objects like mirrors. Now shut up for a moment so I can use my Sith powers to see what happened. Oh yes, I see the power, the force within him. I can feel the midichlorians. His midichlorian count is even higher than Jimmy Fallon's blood alcohol level. We will find him.
I'm meditating, R6. Be quiet.
Hey, while we have some time to kill, let's review Andor Season 2. Or, I could review The Last of Us Season 2. Based on the hit video game, The Last of Us Part 2, which was very well received. Finally, Season 2 of Andor is here! Yay! Season 1 was great. No, seriously, I thought it was fucking awesome. I loved it. Season 1 explored the complicated character of Cassian Andor. The show reveals his backstory and the motivations behind his actions in Rogue One. There were many other great characters as well, such as Luthen, portrayed by Stellan Skarsgård. The show's espionage and intrigue made it stand apart from the typical science fantasy the series is known for. I was hoping Season 2 would be good, and yeah, it really delivered. And it felt like there was a lot of payoff from the things that were set up in Season 1. I watched the whole season twice. The first time I just tried to enjoy it, and I didn't really think about writing a review. The second time I took notes, but I still really enjoyed it. The show continues to impress with its high production value, impressive special effects, and mature writing that distinguishes it from other Star Wars narratives, emphasizing the unsung heroes of the rebellion, rather than the fucking Jedi again.
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
I will do what I must.
I won't fight you.
I've heard that before.
The time of the Jedi has passed. They cannot defeat Sidious.
Look what has become of you. A rat in the desert.
The power of one! The power of two! The power of many!
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
The visual effects in the show are seamless and immersive, but what's perhaps even more impressive is how much the show relies on practical effects, physical sets, costumes, and real-world locations. Whether it's the architecture of Gorman, or the hauntingly sterile interiors of the Imperial facilities, the environments feel lived in, textured, and believable. The cinematography is also striking throughout, with a strong emphasis on visual storytelling. None of this would matter without the strong writing. The dialogue's intelligent, the show explores many themes, such as personal sacrifice, moral ambiguity, and everything is treated with a level of genuine sophistication. Diego Luna deepens his portrayal of Cassian Andor. Denise Goh delivers a very nuanced performance as Deidre. Genevieve O'Reilly, Stellan Skarsgård, and the rest of the cast were all very committed to the material, and it shows. I like that this season, smaller characters that were kind of in the background and didn't have much attention drawn to them are now major players in this season. One of those characters being Clea Marquis. She's a big part of the season, and I like her arc at the end of the season. As I said in my last review, this isn't just a great science fiction or fantasy series, or a great Star Wars series. It's a great television series in general. So when I discussed Season 1, I talked about the structure of the show and how it's broken up into different arcs. Episode 1 and 2 setting up a climax that happens in the third episode. That doesn't mean nothing happens in those first 2 episodes of the arc. It just means they're setting things up for some kind of big moment. In Season 2, each 3-episode arc leaps forward by 1 year. It allows us to witness the slow birth of the rebellion, still fragmented, but inching closer to becoming that organized force we see in Rogue One. Especially later on in the season, they start tying it to Rogue One a lot, and we're introduced to Krennic, who is a major player in this season. Ben Mendelsohn gives a great performance as Krennic, who is just a total dick. This season starts out slow with episode 1, which is fine. There's still a lot of fun action and character moments toward the beginning of the season. Cassian is now working for Luthen. His latest mission is to steal a prototype of a TIE Avenger. He's supposed to drop off the TIE Avenger on a jungle planet and leave it with a rebel cell called the Maya Pei Brigade. When he gets there, they ambush him, and they just kind of show how uncoordinated and fragmented the early rebellion is. Bix, Brasso, Will, and B2EMO, all characters we met last season, hide out on Mina Rao. On Chalandra, Mon Mothma continues her struggle trying to reconcile her role in the Senate while also helping the rebellion. Krennic makes his first appearance in an Imperial meeting. He pushes to colonize Gorman for its rare minerals and assigns Deidre to lead the operation. It's interesting seeing Krennic before Rogue One being an intimidating and oppressive figure, and he seems to talk with the Emperor on a semi-regular basis. Now I want to talk about the ISB because Andor is really the first series to explore the ISB in detail and the first bit of Star Wars media that actually made the ISB interesting. They don't use traditional weapons to defeat their enemies. They use information, surveillance, and manipulation as weapons. They're a fully realized intelligence machine, steeped in spycraft and strategic ruthlessness. Deidre is the perfect ISB agent. She's competent, intelligent, and committed. She just puts her job in front of everything. Even the smaller characters in the Empire, like Lonnie Young and Hurt, are well written and entertaining in their own right. Hurt is just a smug prick. Meanwhile, Lonnie is a double agent secretly working for Luthen and helping the rebellion. He is portrayed as a man completely out of his depth. He's actually quite sympathetic. The rare resource Krennic wants on Gorman is still a mystery, although you can definitely guess what it is and what it's going to be used for. There are some standout moments from this episode, especially that hangar sequence. The sound design and music are a constant positive about this series, using compositions from Nicholas Brittle. This season, it was mostly composed by Brandon Roberts, with Brittle coming in to compose only certain episodes. If I had any criticisms for this episode and for this arc, this first arc, it would be that the Maya Pei rebels feel kind of underwritten, not one of my favorite storylines in the show, and it can feel slow at this point, although it does pick up later on, which the show is very confident in its approach, and I found it engaging overall. Anyway, in episode 2, Cassian is being held by the Maya Pei Brigade, which are now separated into two groups. Again, the rebels at this point are kind of just incompetent and fragmented. Meanwhile, Bix, Brasso, and Will quietly try to escape as the Empire arrives on Minaru, I'm not sure how to say it. We see Cyril and Deidre as an awkward couple. Meanwhile, Cassian manages to escape in the TIE Avenger while the Maya Pei Brigade fight amongst themselves. And that's basically it for this episode. In episode 3, now that Cassian's managed to escape, he reaches out to Clea, and he learns about his friends, that they're in danger, the Empire is coming to the planet to arrest them, and that they're trying to escape, so he tries to get there as fast as he can. Meanwhile, Bix is nearly assaulted by an Imperial officer, and she kills him, and another Imperial soldier. Cassian arrives with the TIE Avenger and wipes out an entire squad. Brasso ends up being fatally wounded. B2EMO stays behind, sadly. He was my favorite character. I never thought I would see a Star Wars related anything end with an extremely drunk woman furiously dancing to techno music. I welcome it. I think it's great. Meanwhile, Cyril is growing more deluded. He's fully dependent on Deidre and the Empire's approval. I gotta say about Brasso's death, I think the show would have benefited with a little more screen time with him this season before killing him off. But overall, this was a very brutal and character-rich episode, and it ended the arcs very well. Continuing on to episode 4, and our next 3-episode arc, we see that the rebellion is no longer as scattered as they once were. It's becoming a little more of a coordinated network. Meanwhile, on Gorman, the Empire begins construction of a military armory. We're introduced to many characters living on Gorman, including Carol Rylance, a businessman and elected official, who is also leading an underground rebellion force on Gorman. The actor who plays Caro is Richard Samuel. Cyril, now operating with ISB support from Deidre Miro and Partagast, goes undercover in Palmo, pretending to be a sympathetic figure to the rebels in order to infiltrate them. This episode has a lot of cool moments. It has one of my favorite line readings from Stellan Skarsgård in the entire series.
Smear campaign is an opening move, not an end game. I need the end game.
I need the end game.
I need the end game.
In episode 5, Clea has to remove a surveillance device she planted before the Empire find it. On Gorman, Cassian goes undercover to meet with the rebels. One of the most enjoyable parts of this episode was watching Cassian go undercover. Cassian goes disguised as Varian Sky, a fashion designer. Moments like this remind us that Cassian Andor isn't just a fighter, he's a spy, a chameleon who can adapt to any situation. He meets with the rebels, including Caro Rylance, but finds them completely underprepared to face the Empire. Cyril informs the ISB of the heist. Partagast and Deidre decide to let it proceed, intending to allow the rebels to act, and then trap them for propaganda and control. Both Partagast and Deidre continue to hide the truth about why they are there from Cyril. Episode 6, we see Cassian and Luthen talk about how the trip to Gorman didn't really go so well. Cassian says that it's too late to do anything, and he's more concerned that they will all die pointlessly. Luthen says that if they die, it will just help the cause of the rebellion. But Luthen, being a morally gray character, isn't really concerned about the loss of life, just his end goal.
I need the end game.
For him, the ends justify the means. Luthen, as always, is playing his own games like Deidre does in Partagast and everyone in the ISB or the Empire, calling back to his monologue in the previous season when he says, "I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them." He has to play these games of deception because the Empire does it to them. Meanwhile, we see the heist play out on Gorman as Vel and Cinta are sent to lead the mission. Unfortunately, during the heist, a civilian interferes and Cinta is killed by one of the rebels by accident. That sucks. Clea successfully gets the listening device. Bix breaks into Gorst's new lab and uses his own torture device against him, then they blow up the lab. And that's the end of the episode. I like this episode fleshes out Bix a bit more, and it really makes you see the psychological toll this whole thing has had on her. Cassian and Bix are now stationed on Yavin 4. Cassian agrees to go to Gorman and assassinate Deidre. Meanwhile, they stumble into a Force healer who tells her that Cassian has a vital role to play in the rebellion's future, of course hinting to his sacrifice at the end of Rogue One. Bix says she feels that Cassian is important. On Gorman, Deidre's authority is challenged when Partagast installs Captain Kaido, or Kaido, whatever. Cyril now begins to doubt the narrative that Deidre has been feeding him. In episode 8, tensions explode. Cyril's world starts to fall apart, and this was an interesting episode for his arc. He not only realizes he's been used by the Empire, but he's been used by Deidre. He finally confronts her, demanding the truth, and realizes the depth of her betrayal, and he leaves. A riot breaks out in the town square, and the Imperial troops are ordered to open fire on the crowd. In the chaos, Cyril spots Cassian, and they have a nice and lengthy brawl. Cyril is then killed by Caro Rylance. Cassian manages to escape with a damaged KX unit, and we see Deidre and Cyril's mother, Edie, grieve. This episode is freaking phenomenal. The scale of it, it's dramatic, it's built up to really well and paid off in a spectacular way. There are a lot of major deaths, of course, including Cyril, but also many of those rebels we had been introduced to on Gorman throughout the past few episodes. Considering this is a Star Wars show, I mean, this was brutal. Episode 9 deals with the aftermath. I really like this episode too. Mon Mothma really comes to the forefront here. Throughout this season and last season, Mon Mothma has just been beaten down emotionally. She doesn't get anything accomplished because the system is so tainted by the Empire and their politics. And after the incident on Gorman, she has just fucking had it. She's like, I'm done. Mon Mothma gets to speak to the Senate, and she delivers a blistering speech condemning the Empire for lying, for killing people, and she calls the incident a genocide. Afterwards, she flees with Cassian. She was originally supposed to leave with Bail Organa's group, but turns out they were Empire. Also, her driver, Cloris, he works for the Empire. Cassian kills him and they run away. Cassian goes back to Bix and says, look, I'm done with this shit. But Bix quietly departs during the night, because she believes that Cassian still has a greater purpose, and she cannot be the thing keeping him away from it. In episode 10, Luthen meets with Lonnie Young, and he's warned that the Empire is building a Death Star. He decides to kill Lonnie to protect the rebellion. Deidre confronts him in his shop and tries to arrest him, but he kills himself before that. Well, actually, he tries to kill himself, but he didn't kill himself, so Kleya has to sneak into the hospital and cut off his life support. In episode 11, Cassian, Melshi, and K2SO rescue Kleya in a thrilling infiltration, and in the final episode of the series, they manage to get Kleya back. They return to Yavin. Cassian tells the rebels about Luthen's intelligence and the Death Star. The leadership remains skeptical, even Bail doubting its credibility, but ultimately Mon Mothma vouches for him. Partagaz fails to keep the Death Star project under wraps, and so he kills himself before he's reprimanded. Deidre is sent to a prison, reminiscent of Narkina 5 from last season. In the end, Cassian goes off to see what Felicity Jones is up to, and then we cut back to Mina Rao, and Bix is holding her baby, finally having a chance to live in peace. The best Star Wars movies to me are the ones that connect to the original trilogy, and this show is about that. These characters sacrifice everything for something larger than themselves, and in a film like Rogue One, we get a taste of this, but a movie doesn't really have time to live with these stories like a series does. Andor gives these sacrifices weight. It gives these characters space to grow and to make hard choices that make you feel the cost of this rebellion. And many of these rebels are women in complex roles. This is the first Star Wars series that made those things work, that made these things interesting and human. It's not trying to rehash the Skywalker saga crap again. The Acolyte had that problem for me. It didn't seem to know exactly what it wanted to be, felt tonally confused and unfocused. It feels so disconnected from the original films, which are like my favorite movies ever. Andor doesn't rely on where it's placed in some timeline, it just earns your investment by telling a great story. It's mature, half of the characters are written to be like unlikable. It's just not what you expect from a Star Wars show. Like when Bail Organa says the word shit.
Tear the shit out of this place.
There's scenes of chicks making out. It's like got stuff for everyone to enjoy. It could be argued that this is better than season 1. It did just focus in on a lot of the most interesting parts. I'd recommend you check it out.
I have finally found you, Ralph the Jedi. Although this is only a vision, I am not really there with you.
Oh great, a Sith. What the hell is your name?
I am Darth Hideous, a Sith Lord bent on destroying every Jedi, movie reviewer, TV critic, whatever, in the galaxy.
I gotta say, for someone called Darth Hideous, you're quite handsome.
Oh, really? Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I just always thought, because I'm called Darth Hideous, I thought I was ugly. I never, I guess, thought to look in a mirror or...
Please don't worry about it. You deserve the compliment. Wait a second, this is a Jedi mind trick. You're tricking me. The Emperor said you would do this, try to mess with my head with your Jedi mind tricks. It's not gonna work on me. I'm a Sith. I'm evil. I'm Darth Hideous, alright? So just shut up, and I'm gonna kill you. Goodbye.
Yeah.